Shabbat Shalom. I am struck and frankly flabbergasted as to the current public behavior regarding the COVID-19 vaccination. I'm shocked as to how many people are choosing not to vaccinate. While I completely comprehend and support an individual's right to choose, after all, our own reform ideology is based on personal autonomy and the freedom to choose ritual practices that are contrary to traditional Jewish law. The caveat being when those choices are made from knowledge. I am nonetheless taken aback on why so many people seem to have little concern for the welfare of our entire society and world and have made their choice to forego vaccination, not based on medical science and fact, but rather have chosen to make their choice a political statement. In a Dvar Torah on this week's portion of Bahar Bechukotai from the book of Leviticus, Rabbi Devorah Weisberg reminds us that Judaism as a religious system does not mandate a particular political stance. Torah is not a political manifesto. Yet, if we were looking for a political vision of society in the Torah, this week's portion is where we should start. Leviticus chapter 25 offers a vision for the relationship between the individual and community, an approach to resources and the distribution of resources, and an understanding of the limits of ownership and private property. Leviticus chapter 26, one of the two chapters of the Torah known as the Tochacha, the rebuke, follows with a detailed image of what happens when a community fails to live up to its values. In Leviticus 25, God tells Moses to instruct the Israelites how to live properly in the promised land. Quote, 6 years you may sow your field, and 6 years you may prune your vineyard and gather in the yield. But in the 7th year, the land shall have a Sabbath of complete rest. You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. In addition to the sabbatical year, when the land is left untilled, every 50th year is a Jubilee year, a year when ancestral land that has been sold is to be returned to its original owner. When an Israelite buys land belonging to another Israelite, the sale is essentially a long-term lease, with the purchase price calculated based on the number of years until the Jubilee year. Further, sales of ancestral land to the apportioned among the tribes of Israel after the conquest of Canaan must not be sold beyond reclaim, that is, in perpetuity, for the land is mine. You are but strangers resident with me. This verse from Leviticus chapter 25, verse 23. Although the Torah uses the language of buying and selling, it proclaims that the Israelites do not truly own the land that God is giving them. It is God's land, and they are God's tenants. They must treat the land with respect, allowing it to rest, and know that although they may purchase the right to work and live on a piece of property, they cannot own it forever. These limits on ownership of land extend to the ability to control other human beings. Leviticus 25 goes on to explain the laws that apply to individuals who, facing dire poverty, sell not their land, but themselves. Yes, that's right. They sell them slaves. Such individuals sell themselves not as chattel slaves, but as indentured workers, knowing that they will be freed in the Jubilee year. Just as the land is God's, so too are the Israelites. They are my servants whom I freed from the land of Egypt. So it says in Leviticus chapter 25. If we were tempted to dismiss Leviticus 25 as a utopian vision, Leviticus 26 offers us a grim picture of what happens when we place ourselves at the center of the universe, disregarding the claims of other human beings, the land, and God. Leviticus 26 spells out the consequences of ignoring these claims. Quote, I will make your skies like iron and your earth like copper. Your land shall not yield its produce, nor shall the trees of the land yield their fruit. The Torah underscores important truths about maintaining a just and humane society and the challenges of communal life. Even in a world where humans desperately need each other for survival, there are individuals who use their power to acquire resources and control other human beings. They believe that power and wealth can insulate them from perceived dangers, such as those posed by the less fortunate, from disease, or from the rigors of climate change, even from death itself. People barricade themselves in gated communities, build bunkers to withstand cataclysmic upheaval, and invest in technology that they hope will allow them to preserve their bodies until science finds a way to extend life. But the Torah warns us that if we fail to live up to our commitments, our cities and places of sanctuary will be ruins and the land will be desolate. The Torah's vision for holiness and wholeness lies in its insistence throughout Leviticus that Moses, when enunciating the behaviors that God desires, speaks to the entire people. Leviticus is aware that each individual experiences unique moments of joy and gratitude, sickness and pain, but its focus is on the community of Israel. It is the Israelite community that has the capacity for holiness through its collective acceptance of a vision. Whether Israel is guided by a king, by judges, by priests, or by prophets, the Torah's vision cannot be achieved by leaders alone. Only when individuals see themselves inextricably linked to the larger world and society, responsible not only for their own behavior, but for the welfare of everyone around them, can we truly be an Am Kadosh, a holy people. Only then can we solve not only our own challenges, but those of our entire world, namely, yes, this pandemic. If we understand this message, then the book of Leviticus ceases to be a recitation of sometimes bizarre sacrificial practices and emerges instead as a blueprint for bringing the divine and wholeness into our world. Let's all get vaccinated. Shabbat Shalom.